Here in Houston, it can be really hot, and our garage doors and our garage door springs and all the parts actually within the garage door system can be affected. I've asked a garage door expert, a good friend of mine, Adam Greer from EzLiftGaragesDoors, to join me here on the program today to talk about what the heat in this part of the country can do to our garage doors. Adam, how are you?
I'm doing great, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. I've known you for a long time. You've been doing this for decades and decades. You're actually my garage door guy. You install great garage doors. So you're definitely the go-to guy when I've got some questions. So here at the radio program, questions cross the desk. How does the heat affect the springs and the other garage door components?
Well, that's an interesting question, and there's a lot of answers there. Uh, the heat doesn't really affect springs. Weather doesn't really affect springs so much. The metal is, steel is steel. What it can do is make the door stiffer. Things like the jambs swelling and contracting, in different weather extremes, can affect the way the door functions. Rollers, different types of rollers, how heavy if you're heavy gooping them with grease, that's a in the winter that's a bad thing that stiffens up. But in the summer, it makes that stuff, just liquid almost sometimes. And you go in, it's just a disgusting mess. So it's to say that the heat necessarily affects the spring. Cycle life is cycle life, and but keeping things maintenance and using the proper grease for the spring, for the rollers, things like that. That's what matters in the heat. You don't want the thick axle grease stuff. You want some non cakey type grease. There's lots of different options, but you want it to be free. You don't want to get stiff. You don't want to dry out.
Yeah, so really the answer to the question is keep your garage door system. I like to call it a system because it's not just the door. There's rollers and there's cables and there's the track and there's a spring and it goes on and on. The whole system needs to be maintained, right?
Yes. Yeah, there's bearings, there's bearing plates, the rollers have bearing, lots of parts. All the hinge barrels need to be lubricated. There's a lot of maintenance, yes.
Isn't the garage door much like a car where someone says, I get 300,000 miles out of my cars because I maintain them over time? Isn't it true for a garage door? Because those panels, they'll last forever, right? As long as they're
Yeah.
taken care of.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely a great analogy. If you just drive that car until it quits on you, it's going to quit early. But if you pay attention to your oil changes and all those maintenance issues, you can get thousands and hundreds of thousands of miles out of a vehicle. And so the same thing goes true for a garage door. There are parts that do need to be replaced regardless, just like a timing belt in a car, 100,000 miles, it's time to start looking at that. Plastic rollers, 1 year you should replace your rollers. Steel rollers, 4 to 6 years. Nylon rollers, 6 to 10 years. And again, the better you maintain any of those three options, the longer they will last. But so you have parts that need to be replaced just on schedule, and then if you're not maintaining, those schedules get altered by poor maintenance.
Yeah, no, it's really that simple. So it's really hot here in Houston. The overall thing to do is to basically keep it maintained, regardless of how hot or cold it is in your garage. Adam, thank you so much for joining me today on the program. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All of Adam's information is located in the description of this podcast. His website is one click away.